Hi, my name is Allison, and I am currently going into my fourth year of completing a Bachelor of Arts degree in psychology. And I also recently completed a practicum with the psychology department here at Carleton. So I was really interested in completing a practicum because I understand that having a background of knowledge in psychology is really amazing, but it's also really important to have practical experience as well. It's one thing to learn about a variety of theories, but to be able to put it into practice was so influential and important. And I felt more confident in my skills as well by being able to implement what I have learned in the classroom in a practical experience. It helped to expand my knowledge in a way that I really wanted. During my practicum, I was able to work at the Practicum Center, which is a department at Carleton University that supports students who have disabilities. Specifically, I was able to work with the Learning Strategies program. And the Learning Strategies program, it provides learning strategy support to students. They provide different academic-based techniques, such as discussing study skills, note-taking, and time management strategies, for example. So as a learning strategist for the practicum, I was able to meet with students one-on-one who attended Carleton, and I was able to discuss a variety of learning strategies with each student. So this was very much a student-specific approach. Whichever kind of topics or areas the students wanted to work on, that is what we would address and discuss. And it was also really important to consider students being metacognitive about their learning abilities as well. And being metacognitive means to consider how you think and how you approach learning. So we really wanted to focus on having a strength-based approach and meeting students where they were at. By doing this, we were really able to help encourage students to reach their full potential and to feel confident in their abilities. Learning is a multiple-step process, or a multi-step process, and it requires a process of trial and error. Not everything will be perfect the first time around, and it was really important to implement this with students and to show them that failure is not the end of their learning, and that in fact it can even encourage their learning further to see what they need to do the next time. It was also very much a bi-directional process to learn with the students. As much as I learned from the practicum and my supervisor, I was also able to learn from the students I was meeting with and able to see the unique ways that they approached their learning. So I was able to apply my knowledge of brain functioning, brain structures, and cognition within my practicum. So at the Practicum Center, there are many students who might experience executive functioning difficulties. And executive functioning difficulties, that might be having difficulties with planning, difficulties organizing information, being able to manage your time. So by being able to understand what exactly executive functioning is and how it affects behaviors, I was able to understand how learning strategies might be more important for specific students and how these strategies might help to mitigate some of those challenges experienced by the students. I was also able to apply my knowledge of motivation within the practicum as well. So we know that learning to be often self-motivated by the students. So understanding the difference between intrinsic motivation and extrinsic motivation was very helpful. Intrinsic motivation is more so motivation that occurs within yourself and you feel a desire to go about and do a task, whereas extrinsic motivation is motivated more by external rewards or other individuals. So I really wanted to focus on encouraging intrinsic motivation within each student and asking them about, why do they want to learn as well? What do they like about their program? By discussing more of this, more of a personal relevancy to their learning, students were able to perhaps increase their motivation or feel more motivated about the different topics that we were discussing. So that was really important to me as well. I know that the practicum can sound very intimidating to a lot of students, but I did find that I was able to manage my course load with the practicum as well. I did about 15 hours per week for the winter semester. However, I know that many students choose to do 7, which is the minimum required hours. And I found that it was worth it too to spend that amount of time working with the practicum, because I was able to develop more skills than some of the skills I developed within my courses. And I also found that I was able to apply my knowledge from my courses to the practicum and apply my knowledge that I've learned within the practicum to my courses as well. I would recommend for any student who takes the practicum to understand that success in a course is different than the success you will experience within the practicum. I know that many students might feel like if they follow all of the right steps and they do absolutely perfect in each course, that is what is defined as successful. However, I would say for the practicum, it's really important that you experience failure, because the more that you fail, the more you can learn from those mistakes and grow as an individual. Learning is a multi-step process, so that requires trial and error. It requires making mistakes, and it requires reflecting on how those mistakes can encourage you to grow both professionally and personally as well. I would also recommend to students to be professional, but to show who you are as a person. It is one thing to show up and to do the work, but it's another to show who you are and how you fit within the greater work culture. Often your supervisors, they want to work with you because you demonstrate different skills that fit within their organization. And it could also be really important before starting the practicum to consider your values and how those values might fit in with the organization that you would like to work with. Within the practicum, you might also experience some gray areas. And by gray areas, I mean different points in time that you have to use professional judgment in order to make sense of a situation. And this is a skill that we develop during our undergraduate degrees, but it's also a skill that I found to be developed more so within the practicum.